how did I start off? I basically was doing the life that I thought I was meant to have, like the way that you're supposed to get a nice career and have a good, predictable, stable job, bring in a good income. Before that, I went to a really good college. I sort of did all of the straight A student kind of things. And, to do well. And I had a wild side too, but mostly I was well behaved and I did what I was told. For a long time. So I did that. And I got into a relationship. I was having a lot of fun. I had a good job. I was making good money, but I wasn't really excited about the work I was doing. I was only doing it because it was making money, And then so I had my hobbies on the side. The things that fulfilled me were on the side. And then I had children, and that really woke me up. So getting to be a mom, getting pregnant, having a child was just really profound. And what it did for me is it gave me a really big insight that I had a lot of healing to do that I didn't know I had to heal. I mean, I'd been a person interested in my own psychology. So I'd been a person that was going to like weekly psychotherapy sessions, kind of like working out my frustrations with my job or whatever, getting support. But when I had children, when I had my first baby, I really realized, wow, like this is profound. There's a lot that I need to heal that I didn't even know was going on. And so I started even deepening into my psychotherapy and really trying to sort things out. And, at the same time, just being a mom. So all of this pressure sort of built up, and I was trying to stretch my entrepreneurial muscles at the same time and kind of doing a lot of outside of the box things. And what happened was the pressure just got too intense. And so we moved. We were living in Silicon Valley. We had 2 small children. They were in like daycare and preschool and like this private school. And we were starting to look at the trajectory of this and going, this is not sustainable. Like this way we're living is not sustainable. We're not spending any time with the kids, and I'm super stressed. The entrepreneurial thing I was doing was not working out the way I thought it would. I was having all these psychology things coming up, deep, just subconscious stuff coming up that I didn't know what to do with. And there was a lot of pressure and stress in our marriage. So we said, okay, we're going to leave. We're going to go to Texas and be close to my family. And it kind of started to make things better, but then it didn't, because it introduced a lot of the subconscious stuff that I was dealing with actually had to do with my relationship with my mother. So all of that got stirred up. So it's just been like, it basically just led to a big pressure point. And underneath the pressure of all that, there were diagnoses that I got. I was kind of told, okay, well, this is your label and this is why you're acting this way. And you're going to have to just like take these pills forever and you might never recover. And that whole story. And I was like, well, this is a crappy story, so I kind of got down to the bottom of the story. And I didn't like the story. So I said, you know what? There's something calling me forth to something greater. And if we keep going down this path, again, looking at the trajectory of things, I'm looking forward the trajectory of this story. This storyline is not working out very well for anybody. So I have to make a choice. And I had this profound moment of insight that I saw this end of the rope. Like, that's the end of the rope. You need to go. So I said, okay, that's the end of the rope. I don't even know where I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to get caught. I don't know if because I had been sort of taking a break from my consulting business. So I didn't know if I could build up enough money to support myself. But I just knew that in that moment, I had to make a really pivotal decision to open to another possibility, a new storyline that was going to be more beneficial down the road. So I opened to this new storyline. I had no idea like how it was going to go. And I entered the void. And it's so interesting because when we enter the void, so many people right now are so afraid of the void that we're in. We're in the big void of COVID and like, what's going to happen? And is anybody going to survive? And all of this unknown. And that's exactly the space I was in, Julianne. Like, that's where I was. I was in the void, but I had that feeling like this is the right way, even if I don't know why. So I took it, and that's the path that really led me. to open my spirituality with very quickly after moving out of my, away from my ex-husband and kind of, I stopped the psychotherapy. I said, okay, all the stuff I've been doing up until now, I'm stopping because it didn't work. So I'm not happy and I'm quitting that. And I don't know what's next. And then I opened up and I found a path. Started getting connected, to a new path. And that was a spiritual path that has unfolded for me over the last 9 years. And it's been amazing. So now today I'm a guide. I'm a soul guide. I channel ascended masters, in particular, White Eagle. I did a book with the hymn, The Second Wave, which has been an international bestseller for 49 weeks. Really a very helpful book I channeled last year. And then now since that book, I've been working on a new book with White Buffalo Calf Women, channeling a book called Love is Fierce, Healing the Mother Wound. And this book is an embodiment book. So I'm embodying the teachings as I'm doing the healing with myself and then channeling that wisdom out there. So it's been really a powerful 9 years of like a completely different landscape. Not what I thought was going to happen when I was, in college. I knew I was going to be a writer. I knew that, but that's about it. So that's the only thing that actually worked out the way I thought.
So incredible. I love channeling. Like, I love people that channel. I want to do channeling sessions. I like watch people's YouTube channels of them channeling. I also channel Kuan Yin. How would you describe channeling for people that are like, because I feel like people have this misconception that's like we're being possessed and taken over by this, and it's going to be so strange to hear this person talking. Like, I get a lot of messages like that when they're like, what is that, Julianne? Like, I've never heard you talk about that. Isn't it like this? I'm like, no, that's such a misconception about what channeling is. So for anyone that would be like on the fence about channeling or just wanting to learn more, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say that it's actually, for me, it's opening up my listening to listen to a flow of conscious information, like a consciousness stream that wants to come through me. And in some ways, it's kind of like, it shows up in different ways for me. When I was writing the book, the way that it showed up for me was I had my laptop on my lap and I was just typing without looking. And just for me, it feels like there's a stream of information coming into my auric field, sort of like on the right side of my head. And I feel it there. And then I sort of like a blob of data, like in database terms, like it's like this blob of data. And then I'm just like parsing that blob of information and filtering it to find the right words that match what that is.
Oh, I love that.
And then that just filters into words, and then my fingers type the words. And so that's the process I used for that book. And then I would go back after typing a few paragraphs or like a section, I would go back with my pendulum and just double check, did I get that correctly? Like, is that correct? So it was a little tedious because I had to go back and, check every sentence and make sure the sentences were correct. But other than that, it was pretty seamless. I know I also listen to Paul Selig, and his channeling is a little bit more like, he'll have like 2 or 3 words and then he'll have to mumble them and then repeat them. And so I figure my method is pretty good. At least I just have to use a pendulum, like I just double check. But, it also works for me, like it happens live, like in broadcasts with, let's say I'm doing a webinar and I'm channeling, I'm opening up a healing space. That healing space in the webinar is an opening, for the highest good of all. So it's always also the intentions that you set. So I always set the highest good of everyone concerned. And I invite in specific guides like White Eagle, I'll invite in, and then it'll just start coming through, like the information just kind of flows out of my mouth. And I don't even know what I'm saying. And I try not to stop and think about it. I just sort of let it come out and trust that that is correct. And then later, if I listen back to it, I'm getting I'm actually learning from it. So, which I find helpful. Yeah.
And who is White Eagle, and how did you know that that's how you were channeling?
So White Eagle is an ascended master of rainbow light activation for the ascension of human consciousness. And White Eagle is an old soul that has, ascended master that has lived on the earth many, 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 many lifetimes. And so has a great deal of wisdom for earth consciousness, for like living on earth. And so this consciousness teacher presented himself to me throughout my awakening process as he looked kind of like a Cherokee peace chief, like a headdress, like that the Cherokee peace chief would wear. And I didn't know. See, like I didn't know for sure that that's what was going on until about the week I was supposed to publish the book. So I was channeling this book and I'm like, who am I channeling? I don't know. And it just says, just say great spirit. It's fine. It's like, well, no, I need to know, like, who is this? And I just happened to see this picture randomly about the week before that my friend had done this artwork of White Eagle. I was like just perusing through her website and I saw this artwork and I'm like, that's the one that's the one that who has been coming and talking to me. Like that's what he looks like. And I pieced that together, and then it all kind of started falling into place, all the times that a teacher or somebody had said, oh, White Eagle, or I found White Eagle on when I went on a trip to Peru, a sacred journey to Alzangate, there was actually a fallen White Eagle on the ground that looked like snow, and everybody else was walking past it. And I went over and I'm like, what is that? It's a White Eagle. Like it's got feathers. So, so there's just moments like that. There's a lot of little moments I talk about in the book where I had that. And then a few days before I released the book, I had a plant medicine ceremony where it was like I was sitting face to face with White Eagle and he was just connecting.
I got goosebumps.
All the
I love
dots.
that.
Yeah, like like I love dot connection, don't you? Like
I do. It's like ding 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 ding. Like everything
ding,
just
ding,
like
ding,
you feel
ding.
it. It's like ding 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 ding. Like, it just all lines up. It feels so good. And you're like, yes, 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 yes. That's what I was feeling. That's what I was thinking, and now that's what I'm seeing.
Such good validation.
So how did you know that you were even channeling in the beginning? Like, for me, like I didn't know that I was channeling until like I was teaching yoga, and I'd be like, well, these are the words that want to come through right now. So I'm just going to start saying them. And then people were like asking me, like, where did you get that from? How did you know to say that? Or where do you come up with these things? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it just kind of starts happening when I'm in the zone. And then my friend channels Saint Germain, and she was like, Julianne, like, that's what channeling is. I'm like, what is that? So that's when I started looking more into what channeling is. So how did you kind of start getting those signs and feelings that like, oh, something is coming through to me and I'm seeking these things?
For me, it was really kind of clunky for a while because I had a lot of I had a lot of doubt in my intuition and in my ability to know what was going on. And so I would use my pendulum quite a bit at first. I would like double check everything with my pendulum. And then I didn't even trust that. So then I would start asking questions and writing things on little slips of paper as options and then folding them all up so I didn't know which option it was, and then like throwing them up in the air and then using my pendulum. So like I have done like some pretty paranoid checking of my logic. And because I didn't trust it, I didn't trust my intuition at all. And so over the process of doing that, I started to cultivate some level of trust in it. And the more trust that I cultivated in it, the more I was able to start letting go of like so much needing to double check everything. And then I started opening to doing more healing sessions. I was trained in energy healing from the Four Winds Light Body School. And so as I was doing healing sessions, I started receiving a lot of healing myself as well. And I started getting messages for people, during the healing session. Or I'd be sitting with them and then some insight would come through and I'd be like, I think this is about this time in your life and you might have been this age and this, does that resonate for you? Or I'd give them a bit of insight that was coming down for me for them. And they would be like, oh my God, that's exactly it. Like,
oh my gosh.
And the more that happened, the more I got confident, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sure that I really knew. And so I would just keep asking, like, is this is what I'm getting? Is that resonate for you? Is that true? So I kept getting more and more of that wisdom that was coming through and then getting it validated. And that helped me to open up and relax even more in healing sessions. And the healing sessions and letting white ego come through the healing sessions, and stepping back and sort of relaxing and like letting him come in and do the healing. And like when I drum, like doing a drum journey or something, I started getting visions of him in my drum journey, and he was saying, just let me drum, just relax, let
Oh,
me.
I like that.
So I would let him drum. I would say, okay, you take my hand, and then I would just let go of my hand, and my hand would still be drumming, but he would be doing the drumming. So I just started practicing letting go and trusting. And it's a big deal because I had a lot of early, childhood trauma that was in my brain, from 0 to 5. And so trust has been in order to do channeling, you have to trust because you have to be able to let go.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to heal
Yes.
that.
Let's talk more about that because I think with COVID, I did just like a talk for an hour on my Instagram live, and almost every person on there said, well, how do I let go of control? Because during COVID, it was like you couldn't control anything really, except for maybe like what you did in that one day by day, instead of, listen, I'm doing this week and I work out at this time and I go to this job and I have everything laid out and I'm going to be safe because I have it controlled. What do you do when you are learning to surrender?
Well, you have to realize that everything is happening for you. And that's a big transition
Mm,
in thinking. Because most people, and I totally understand this because I started off this way, we get an idea of what we think we want and how we
mm-hmm,
think it should go based on other people that have been deemed to be successful, that have been pointed out to us as this person's very successful. And so then your child mind or your teenage mind is looking at that person and assessing all the aspects that contribute to their success. And then like we want to replicate that, right? So we have
mm-hmm.
this idea about how to get successful and we start to do that. And then if things don't go your way, then you have your reaction to that. Things get messy or they get blown apart. That's when we actually find out what's true, because all of that replicating and mimicking is actually, it's a starting point, but it's not the destination, because the destination is
Mm-hmm.
who you really are inside. And you can only find that out by the universe sort of like throwing a monkey wrench in all your stuff that's not true. So pretty much. So this is where you start realizing you either learn to trust the universe or you just clamp down harder and try to control it more and get angry. So it's your
Mm-hmm.
choice. You can open up and trust and roll with it, or you can tighten up and get angry. Which one?
So good. Yes. When you were going through this transition of kind of like who you were, and then you're like, I don't want to see, well, I use the word unraveling, but that's just because it's like you have this shell and it's coming off and you're really letting things go. But I had someone comment and say, well, unraveling kind of sounds like you're going crazy. And I'm like, okay, maybe I could find a different word.
I don't know. That's
So when
actually
you're,
perfect.
yeah, I think it's good. So when I was about to say it, I'm like, just to clarify, that's what I mean by unraveling. So when you're kind of going through this transition, you know, are you questioning your journey of how far you're going to go into transforming? Like, is your family being supportive, or are they also wondering what's going on? What was that like for you?
Well, you know, I think my journey is fun because I was already being told I was kind of crazy, right? So that's why I was in all the
Hmm.
psychotherapy, was to fix myself so that I could be acceptable and, show up in a way that everybody could deal with me. And that didn't work, because it made me really
Hmm.
unhappy. So when I started on this path and I started going to spiritual training, what happened was I started learning the reason why I was so dissatisfied. Like I started understanding that my brain had been conditioned, that I had been programmed, by my family, my society, not in a malevolent way, but just, that I've been programmed to believe that certain things were true, but that actually weren't true for me. And I started dismantling the systems that were keeping me from really experiencing a sense of fulfillment in my life. And that affected people in my family. It can't not affect them. Like, they were very highly affected because I was changing things. Like, I was always a big pleaser. So I would really want to please everybody and make everybody happy and do all the parties and all the stuff. But at a certain point, like, that stuff was just not, it wasn't authentic, and I had to admit that if I didn't get what I expected in return, because of course all of it was conditional, if I didn't get back something from all my pleasing and giving, then I was resentful. And I didn't like feeling resentful, and I started noticing that I was being manipulative, and I was not being as high of an integrity as I wanted to be. And then I would lash out, if I didn't get something my way, or if I felt somebody wasn't respecting me the right way, or, this is a lot of conditioning that I finally started to see the structures that had been placed in my brain that were causing me suffering and my family suffering, and I needed to change. So it's taken a while to unweave and untangle that. And in the process of the unweaving and the untangling, there's a lot of things that happen. One thing that happens is that you totally know you're changing because you feel it on the inside and you're showing up in a different way. But not everybody in your family gets it at first. And they still think that you're the same way that you were before.
And it's like, you never will, though, be that again.
And you're like, no, I'm not that. But they can't see it yet because they only see the version of you that they had in their brains that they created stories about. You know how families tell stories about each other? Like, they're like, oh, remember that time when you did this and that? You'll always be the one that does this or that in this family. Well, this path requires that story to change. And some people don't like that.
Yes, because it makes them uncomfortable.
Because you're not the same, and you're really different. But it takes a while for people to be able to see it, and it takes a while of repeated demonstration in order for people to really get it, that it's different. So, and it takes a while for you to be different because you change, and then with energy medicine, things can change really quickly, but then you still have to embody it. So then it still takes practice. So in the process of embodying and practicing, even though things are moving very quickly compared to a normal human life, like things are really sped up, you still have to embody and practice, embody and practice. So, there's a process where you have this ascended understanding of compassion, for example, but then you're not implementing it at 100% of the way that you got it in your insight, because you still have to embody. You still have stuff in the way. So maybe you embody it at 50% of what you imagined, was possible.
Yes.
Right? And so that it's practice. So you're just practicing. And on the way of you doing that, your family sort of watching you like, yeah, you're full of crap because you said this, but then you did this. Like, okay. So they really hold you to it, right? They hold you to it because they're with you all the time. So it's really fascinating also to do it in a public specter, because everything is on public display in my life. A lot of things are. And that makes it uncomfortable for people that are close to you because they may not want to be in the public specter. That might not be what they want.
I got really excited when you messaged me because I was like, someone else says the second wave and the first wave and third wave, and I'm like, someone else talks like this. I only really have 2 other people that I know in my life that talk like this. So what, in your terms and description, is the second wave?
So the second wave, and the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, they're all waves of volunteers to the planet to
Mm.
help with the ascension of human consciousness. And so if we think back to like the 60s, you know, it's sort of like astrology is never precise. It's not like just like here's this one moment and then it starts like bam, here it is. It's more like a spectrum, right? So like we start
Mm-hmm.
to feel the influence of something long before it's actually in the center point. So we've been feeling the influence of the age of Aquarius for about, you know, since the 60s. And all of the, so you can see the first wave coming in the 60s with Martin Luther King and you know, JFK and all of these, you know, even that band that played the Age of Aquarius and that wonderful song that sounds completely galactic. Like, how does this galactic song show up on the earth, right? Who creates that? Like, that's not human. So we see all of this coming through, and then here we are, and it's the second wave's turn, because the first wave paved
Mm-hmm.
the way. It paved the way. It did a lot of hard work. Now the second wave is here, and we're here to really expand on that work and elevate even higher in a broader base. So there's more of us, and we're spread out across the planet. It's like most soul pods come to the planet and they all like incarnate together, and then they have like lots and lots of lifetimes together changing roles, and but they all
Mm-hmm.
cohabitate and they just change roles amongst each other, and that's how they learn. This soul pod, the second wave soul pod, comes in and we distribute it across the whole planet. So there might be only one of you in a family system, or there might be you and you know one other person that kind of gets you, and that's it. That's the second wave. You came in, you're alone, there's nobody else like you. You're the only one that seems to really get it, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else is sort of confused as to when you start waking up, why you're so upset about the patterns, and why you're even what is transformation. Like, they don't know that word. Like, what are you talking about? And you're like this obsession with personal development,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yes.
just like obsessed with figuring out how to like heal yourself, you know, and heal the
Yes,
ancestry. Like, healing the ancestry is a thinking that's actually something you think about, you know. That's a second
it
waver.
is.
Like, nobody else, like if you're not a second waver, you don't think about that. It's just not important to you. So
Mm-hmm.
you also probably started hearing a call about 2 to 3 years now that said the time is now. Like, it's now, and you felt like this, I have a big purpose I'm supposed to do and I need to do it now. Like, probably been feeling the urgency of that. So
Mm-hmm.
these are all the signs that you're probably a member of the second wave.
Awesome. So, what is the layout of the book for anyone who like is interested in or picks it up? What can they expect by reading this?
They can expect to read things that their mind already told them and they forgot, or they didn't trust, or they thought that's too
Mm-hmm.
far out. And so when they read it, they go, oh my God, I had that same thought. Oh, I knew that. Or yeah, I'm remembering that now. So it's a lot of information like that, and a lot of encouragement to step forward with what you do know in your intuition.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. What other offerings do you provide? Like, do you still do your one-on-one healing, or is it just mainly you're focused on the books and speaking? What else do you offer?
So right now, my core program is called Butterfly Circle, and it's based on these teachings I downloaded, teachings and healings and practices that I downloaded a few years ago, and it's called Reinvent Yourself. So the Reinvent Yourself teachings, I do those with my individual clients, and I also do them with my group, which is called Butterfly Circle. And
Hmm.
so we work through the process. So it's an undomestication process of really clearing your energetic and conscious body, emotional, mental bodies of programming that doesn't serve you if you really want to wake up and ascend. And then it just leads you through a process so that you can find your own spiritual practice to open up to your own guidance and do your own channeling, you know, of your soul's wisdom. So that is really the process that we go through, and it takes about a year in the butterfly circle. And then for people, that's a very in-depth process. So it's a very deep process. It can be you got to be willing to like roll your sleeves up and get in the mud a little bit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of love and compassion, and we witness each other in that space. So it's a non-judgmental space of messiness. Um, and if that's kind of like too intense, some people start off with me on little series that I do. So I like right now I'm doing a little series called Deep Ocean. So I'm doing
Mm.
channeling and healing guidance and like healing energies to help people lead from peace and presence. So that's a series. It's an 8-session series I'm in the middle of. Another one is called Liberation. So that series, we did a Liberation 1, and now we're in the encore because it was so good and there were so many things to liberate.
Whoa.
So we're like, let's go again. So every week there's a new thing that's like a structure of consciousness that we need to look at, realize that it's confining us, and then decide, hey, I'm liberating myself from that. And then we'll get healing from the guides that come through, the medicine people and the guides that come through in the etheric space to do the healing. So those have been really powerful, and I really enjoy them because they're like an hour a week. People can seem to handle the amount of energy and sustain it. So I think it's a good model. It's working out for some traction. I like to see people get traction. That's
Yes.
I can't stand it like spinning out, all those years in psychotherapy and nothing seemed to really move. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love traction. That's my main thing. Like let's get forward momentum.
Mm-hmm. So where can people also find you? Are you on social media, your website? Where could they find your work?
So my website is kerrihummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com. And you can find me on social media, on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. And is there any more? I might be going on MeWe. I think that's the new one that's coming out. So um,
Interesting. I haven't heard of that one.
yeah, it's just people are getting tired of the Facebook censoring thing. I'm also on YouTube.
Yes.
So,
Oh,
and
cool.
iTunes. So with Soul Nectar Show. Yeah, and I have a free gift for the audience too. It's called the Love Mastery Game. It's a really beautiful oracle game, but it's not about what's going to happen. It's more about helping you to understand why the thing is happening. Like, what is this thing and why
Hmm.
is it happening? And it has to do with revealing, pulling back the curtain on, hey, you're practicing this state of being. You're practicing this state of beingness, or you're practicing a mastery principle, like you're practicing releasing and forgiving, or and then
Hmm.
and then like what are your allies? Like you're on Earth, so like your ally might be your ancestors, or it might be the water or the fire, it might be a direction, or you might have another ally that's like tobacco or a deer, or rose quartz. So it just helps you to understand like what medicine do you really need to get through this challenge, and what allies do you have to support you. So that one is also available from my website, kerrihummingbird.com/play. And you can get a little like a 12-sided dice, and you can roll the dice, which is kind of like a game. I like games. So
Beautiful. Any final words of wisdom or anything else you'd like to share?
I just really, it's so important for people to learn to trust their self. And when I say trust yourself, I mean trust the one that is in your heart. Trust the one that operates from your will center. Trust your
Hmm.
body. Trust your instincts. Trust your feelings. And trust that it's giving you information that you need so that you can dive deep into that sort of messy space and clear it out and get quiet, and that's where the wisdom's going to come in. And that's the channeling thing we were talking about. Like that's how you get there. You really start to listen and believe in yourself.
Oh, it's so true.
So yummy.
Yes, so true. Thank you so much, Kerri, for taking the time to speak with me today and reaching out. And I'm so excited for you to be able to enjoy your son and be together and all that's coming for you.
Thank you so much, Julianne. It was wonderful connecting with you, and I look forward to having you on my podcast as well.
I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you so much.